Well, thank y'all for coming and for our first fireside chat. And I didn't coin the phrase. I think there was somebody several years ago, the name of Roosevelt, that started the fireside chats. But I think it's an opportunity for us to sit and to visit and to find out kind of what's going on within the city administration as well as what's going on in the community from you, because we welcome your input so that we can see what issues we want to work on, need to be working on, what you're concerned about, and then we can tell you those things that we're working on so that you'll be aware of the things that are going on into the community that will affect you in certain ways. So Mayor Galea is here, and Commissioner Sykes is here, and so have other staff members. Mr. McGill's here, Mr. Cesar is here, our city clerk Renee is here, and Megan, my executive secretary, is here. So we will try to get the information back to you or for you that we do not know, because there's going to be some questions but we probably don't know. So we have to go do some research and we'll bring it back to you. But we do want to keep you informed and make sure that you are up to date on what's going on. Mayor?
There's just a number of projects going on throughout the city. So a lot of complaints about construction on White Sands Boulevard. And a lot of questions about what are our road projects. So any question, all questions, none, all of them, lay them on the table. We're happy to answer any of all and all of your questions. So we're grateful to have our staff here and a number of elected officials. So feel free. This is an informal setting, so talk out a turn or stand up, however you'd like to do it. The floor is open to you. Yes.
Some of my concerns are to hear what you're thinking about a water plan, 20-year planning. Government spending, if you have a cutback from federal and state, how's it going to affect your planning? Quality of life bonds, the status of Albertsons, and that's it.
Okay, number one, water plan. Brian is here, and he and Matt can help us out with that. Many years ago, the city fathers saw that there was going to be a tremendous need for additional water here, because we draw most of our water out of the mountains, some from underground, but the quality of the underground water is not sufficient to drink without some kind of process. So they have been diligent in trying to come up with a process, and it looks like reverse osmosis, some kind of filtering system is going to be what we're going to need to put in. We can do it in stages. Right now, with the loss that we lost at Bonita Lake, Bonita runs between 15 and 17% of our total water. It's going to be from 3 to 5 years before we can get that probably put back in place. Brian has been very diligently working on that with our engineers and with the Corps of Engineers as well as FEMA. We have now signed an agreement with FEMA that they've sent to Washington, and we're in the $15 million range for things that need to be done up there. Once we get that approval, then we will go out and get our engineers put in place, then we'll start the process of cleaning up the lake. For those of you that don't know, Bonita Lake is about, I would say, 45 to 50 feet full of silt in the lake. That's got to be dredged out, either hydraulically or mechanically. If we can do it hydraulically, we can go in and do some dredging. Then possibly we can clean that debris up, run it through a filtering system and do some work. And we can reuse a lot of that material in the area. And it wouldn't cost the amount of money that it would take to take it to a landfill someplace. So we're working on those issues. So with that in mind, with that water not being available to us for several years, about 10 years ago, the city got with the BLM. And there's a piece of property up to the north of Tularosa. And it's on BLM property. And they asked them if they couldn't lease some of this land, and they got some water rights allocated to it back several years ago. And they were allocated 4,000 acre feet of water up there, and it could go up to 5,000 acre feet in any 5-year period of time. But and it's called the Snake Tank Project. There's some wells that are already drilled there that could be converted to municipal use, but there's some other things that we're going to have to do. And we've been waiting on an EIS report from the BLM to get clearance to do that, to make sure that we've done the archaeology studies, we've done the environmental issues and everything, and that's been completed. And we're in the final process now of getting our permit. Once we get that permit, then we do have funds available to start the process, and we can take the line that we have located close by that brings our water from Bonita. We can put it into that line and bring it to town, and then we'll have to put in a filtration system. That process is going to run about $1.5 million, and we're already in design and looking, and we've got some funding already allocated for that, and we can put that in place, and we could actually do an additional 1 million gallons of water a day for the community that we could put into the system, which would kind of offset where we are with Bonito. So
is that about 15% of your daily?
With the other increases that we could get out of our other waters out of the mountain and other wells that we already have, that could survive from anywhere from now to 5 to 7 to 10 years, depending on the growth of Alamogordolive. Now, in 20 years, we feel like we need to be with the possibility of having where we could treat up to 4 to 5 million gallons a day. So these are portable units that we put in. When they go to their final resting place out here where the wastewater treatment plant is, then those could be located in that area, and we can, as we needed them, we can add. As we need one, we can add. So we're doing it in stages. We feel like that it's going to take between 5 and 18 to 20 years to get there, but that's when the need would arise, and we feel like we've pretty well got those covered. So that's kind of where we are on the water plant. We are also looking at, and I think we have to be diligent in it, as you're probably aware, there's quite a bit of water in Otero Mesa. Other communities, as well as El Paso, Del City, and others, are looking at that water. We are also. We're trying to see what's out there and if there is a need for us to be really involved in that. So we're diligently looking at all other groundwaters within the region and area and what might be the need for those. That'll take care of the water. Albertson. Our last report from Albertson is they have already got their engineers in place, their architects. They've already got the land deals worked out. Looks like everything's in place. They should start on the demolition of the old store over here, the IGA store, Piggly Wiggly, whatever it was. Looks like that's going to the ground. And then they'll start the construction on the new building.
Timeline?
Next year, by March, I think they'll start the process. By this March, it's probably a year project getting in place.
Cutbacks in federal and state funding.
We met with our legislators this last Friday, and we had our 2 senators, our representative from here and one from up in Ruidoso. The senator from over, Mr. Fertile from over in Chaves County could not make it, and some of the others could not be there. But we had our 2 senators, Mr. Burt and Mr. Griggs, were there along with Yvette Harrell, our state representative. They listened to the needs of the community, and they took our community CIP plan, our capital improvement plan for the next 5 years that we've laid out. They're very instrumental in trying to help us get some of those fundings that we're going to need to take care of some of the issues. Some of those issues are going to be ADA compliance in our community. Some of the other issues is going to be water, our reallocated water. You know, we probably lead the state. You're an example city for the rest of the state when it comes to your affluent water from your wastewater treatment plant, because you reclaim up more of it than any other city your size. Or for comparison, no one completes as much as you do. You put in about 2 million a day, and you take out and put back into use about 1 million a day. Nobody's doing that except Alamogordolive. So they're willing to help us get some more funding to help us continue that process, do some balancing and different things. So we're looking at maybe $500,000 to $600,000 this year coming back from the state to help us with these projects. Not a lot of money, but New Mexico doesn't have a lot of funds on hand. They have approximately $253 million that they think they're going to have this year on surplus. And when you look at each representative and each senator, it takes about 30 minutes to get all that divvied up where everybody wants to try to get their hand in the bucket, as you all know. When we look at our federal dollars, with the deficits that we're running, we understand that there's going to be cutbacks. We understand that we need to be very diligent about what we're doing with Holland. We need to make sure that those dollars remain in place for Holland and White Sands and Fort Bliss. I think we've got to really look at our military to make sure that those are funded. So I'm not sure exactly what the city might be able to get back from the federal dollars. Some of you may or may not know I was the chief of staff for U.S. Congressman Steve Pierce for about 4 years. And so I understand the process we're going through up there. And from what he's telling me, don't expect, well, the old story, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. And that's about all we're going to get out of it. So, satisfied?
One more for Mr. McNeely. Quality of life bonds. You've done a good job on that. Do you have any comments on any upcoming projects or new bond issues?
Well, John, as you're aware, we had 18 projects that that the city commissions a year ago or so said go forth with. We're about done with half of them, and we're moving forward with additional projects as we go forward. So the $4.2 million that was allocated for those projects is still there, and that's what we're using the money for.
Of the remaining 9, off the top of your head, what are some of those projects?
One of the big ones we're going to start real soon is we're going out for an RFQ for a engineering firm to build a skateboard park down here at Washington Park, which the commission approved moving some money from a different project. So that's probably our biggest, most visible project we'll be undertaking shortly.
Good.
Dwight?
First of all, Bob, thank you so much, you and Megan and the mayor, for this is an awesome opportunity to communicate. You've been in town long enough, you're a smart man. Down the road, what is the big thing that keeps you awake at night? That's question number 1. And in the past and what you see, what is going so smoothly that it allows you to sleep?
Most of you know that I am the interim city manager. I was brought in August to try to help the city put some people in place and to assist Matt and the other staff members in getting some direction. And so we'll have a brand new chief of police coming in Monday. His name is Bobby Duncan. We have hired him from the New Mexico State Police. He is a 19-year veteran from Albuquerque, Rio Rancho area. So Bobby will be in and going to work. We're in negotiations right now with an engineer. Hopefully we can have him on board shortly. We've hired a new finance director. His name's Ken Johnson. He came to us through Las Cruces, and extremely bright finance director, auditor, CPA. He brings so many tools to the table that we feel extremely lucky to have him. About the second week that he was here, he came in and he said, Bob, I need to visit with you. And I said, okay. And he said, I've been looking at our finances and how we finance and how we put our money on interest and things like that. We're probably losing $1 million to $1.6 million a year by not investing in certain different kinds of things. We had another meeting this morning. And again, he was talking about how that we can start using, for instance, we have a street project that's going on, and we know we're going to spend $250,000 for that project we have to set aside. We're not investing that money back in anything for those 60 days or 30 days that we'd be drawing. Even though it's 1.5% or 1.8%, it's still money. And when you talk about $250,000, it can bring in a few dollars. So we're starting to look at that process. We didn't have an HR person in place when I first got here. We do now. She's doing an absolutely super job in getting these jobs advertised and getting them out. These are the kinds of things, Dwight, that I lay awake at night and worry about. I feel like that the leadership of the community does not take on the personality of the commission. We have a commission that's very energetic. They're wanting to do things for their community. They're wanting to be involved in the community. So to me, leadership starts at the top and it goes through your manager, and they need to be out in the community. They need to be out helping the commission get the things done that they need. And I think that's why I'm so proud to be a part of Alamogordolive right now. Matt, are you still the president of the local Rotary Club?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Renee is down there. Megan, how many different organizations are you going to right now? We are trying to become the face of the community out where people see us, and they can talk to us, and we can be a part of that community. I went to the forum today and had our school superintendent probably put on the best program I have ever seen any superintendent in any setting before in my life. He told more about your school that I could tell you about in 30 minutes than I could have read for a week to find out. Alamogordolive leads the state in so many categories in your school. You may not think that your school is doing what you'd like it to do, but did you know you have the #1 teacher in the state of New Mexico in biology for honor courses? The #1 teacher, second year in a row. That speaks well. And on actual graduating kids from your high school up here, 74% of your students, this is taken from the 9th grade through the 12th grade. 74% of your students here are graduated from high school. In Hobbs, 50%. In Lovington, we had 176 kids graduate from high school. 96 of those come from the alternative school. So you should be proud of the superintendent and the job that these teachers are doing here in this community. So it speaks extremely well of this community and the things that they've got going. Now, the other things that I see for the long range, I would really like, and I was so glad to hear Bree ask, when is Albertsons going to be here, and are we going to see some more little restaurants open up? And why doesn't the mom and pop operations come back to Alamogordolive like we used to have? Wouldn't it be great to have New York Street continue down with the little mom and paws that are down there now? To me, that speaks so much volumes about your communities when your local people will reinvest back into your community. That's what makes a vibrant community. We got a gentleman right here that owns a company here in Alamogordolive, and his name is Robert Lee, and he owns Double Eagle, which is a tile and restoration and carpet cleaning company. But did you know that he invented bubble gum gone? And it's from here, and he manufactures that product here. Now he orders his big equipment from other stuff, but that's a business that's alive and well here, and what are we doing to help him promote it? You didn't even know he had it. So this is the attitude that I think we've got to overcome. We've got to be proactive rather than reactive. Too many times we have taken the attitude and is that I'm old and I've paid my dues and I don't think I want to go. We need to be involved. Every one of us. And I am so glad that I see all the gray-headed people here today because I are one. And I think we have an opportunity to continue to move Alamogordolive in the right direction. One of the first things, we're going to talk about it tonight at the commission meeting a little bit, is Matt's been working with a couple different companies to get some quotes on what it would take to do a study on retail sales. And with that, I would like to add into that leakage. Do you know what I mean when I say leakage?
I'm part of that leakage.
Why do we go out of town?
Because you don't have a Hobby Lobby here.
That's exactly right. We don't have a lot of things. Now, what could we do if we did a leakage survey, and I'm not only talking on retail, but why isn't our hospital successful? Why aren't there other things there that we need to be looking at to see what they need help on? And why are people having to go to Alamogordolive or having to go to Las Cruces or El Paso or Albuquerque? How can we stop that? And one of the things that I've talked to the mayor and them about, and we need this bus that goes over to Las Cruces, takes the kids to college and the other thing. We don't need to be taking our patients over there to the doctor. What we need to do is go over there and talk to those doctors and have them start coming over here 2 days a week, 2 days a month, whatever, so that our people don't have to ride on that bus an hour and a half over and an hour and a half back just to be checked. We've got to get involved. And again, it's proactive rather than reactive. And I think too much, we've been a little too much reactive here, and I would really like to see us become very proactive.
Those economic development templates for leakage and those sorts of studies are available both through New Mexico State and UNM. Beaver at UNM is the outfit, and I don't know the outfit at New Mexico State, but both of those templates are available.
Yeah, the Bureau of Business Research that I've used a lot with the University of New Mexico, and they have been extremely helpful. I was a city manager in Lovington and economic development director for 34 years, and I love working economic development. I love being involved and getting out and trying to make things happen. Too many times I think we wait for the other person to do it. They'll get to it. They're working on it. And so hopefully we can start doing some things that will create more interest and be a little more involved. Other questions? Yes?
I've been taking my dog to Doggy Park. I started 2 years ago in October. And then it was a beautiful park. We had, they watered and everything. And now it's like a dust bowl. It is so bad. We get people from California, Arizona, and they don't even stay that long because once the dogs start running, it's like sometimes you can't even see across the street because it's so bad. And the gates are not maintained. I mean,
I'm gonna defer to Brian and put Matt on this. We have been working on the road, and so that you'll know, on the Fairgrounds Road and the bridge and all of that stuff, we're still on project, probably have that through by the end of May, 1st of June. Okay? So that's part of our problem out there, for one thing. Can you address any of these other problems, or we need to get started?
Another issue with the dog park, and actually a number of the parks, if you noticed this last summer, a number of them were quite brown. We have money set aside that's been approved by the commission. Actually, this year should be completed by March. We've had an issue, as the city manager spoke a little bit earlier. We lead the state in effluent reuse from the wastewater treatment plant. That has been a blessing and sort of a curse for the city because we've expanded greatly over the years. So much so that we started having delivery issues. The school systems are on our effluent system. A large portion of the school systems are on our effluent system. All our city parks are. What we came to the city commission with, and we should have completed by March, is a SCADA system, a computer system, automatic valving to control where the water's going so that the school system is able to get the water they need when they need it, and the city would be also able to get the water when we need it. That valving, the computer controls, the new piping is actually going in place right now. Part of what you saw in the dog park was construction related. With that new roadway, pipelines needed to be moved. So we weren't able, or the park system wasn't able to get water to the park. So this spring, this summer, you should see a big difference, not just at the dog park, but at all the parks in the city.
Will this be non-potable water?
Yes, it's the wastewater treatment plant.
There's still not going to be anything to take care of providing water for the dogs there. We still need to bring in our own water and under those sorts of circumstances. So it will be to water the trees and the shrubs and the ground. Is it going to be reseeded, to be grassed again, or what are we looking for? A lot of us are willing to donate out of our own pockets. Plant a tree, plant a bush, to bring it back to how enjoyable it was. We're willing to do that, but we're not willing to have to walk up there with gallons of water to water the trees that we're planting. And tell me.
My understanding is the wiring for the irrigation is complete now, part of the construction project.
Okay.
So we should see water flying there soon. And part of the plan for that entire park, and it's a dog park, would be reseeding in late February, early March.
Right.
And
So when you reseed, I mean, where are we gonna be kicked out of
No.
Doggy Park again?
No, we won't. Yeah, we can stage it. The reason you were kicked out last year was because of the construction,
Yeah.
not because of anything else.
So is this work going to be coming out of Parks and Rec funds or buildings and grounds? quality of life?
The upgrade to the watering system, the effluent reuse, that's actually coming out of Fund 81, that's the water and sewer fund, so it doesn't hit Fund 32, Parks and Rec fund.
Right. Good.
Another question about the maintenance on the gates. I mean,
We can check into that now. We'll make a note of that. We'll look at that right now.
okay.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, she has one here.
I have a question. The trails for walking, it seems like there's the one on Scenic, and there's no trees, nowhere where you can take a break, for the older people. The young people can walk it 2 miles, not everybody can. But that seems to be the only walkway there is. And I noticed that, I go to Las Cruces a lot for doctors. But, there's times that I just pull over to a park or whatever, a small park, and it's very, trees, there's a few slides, there's benches where you can sit down, and then there's a sidewalk where, you want to walk, do a little walk. I think we need nicer parks.
That's a great suggestion. That'll be one of those things that we can put down, and let's see what we can do with it. And that comes under the quality of life issue that we were talking about here. And so let us look at it. Can't promise anything, but it's something that we can certainly look at.
Okay, another one that, it doesn't pertain to me anymore, because my kids are married and gone. But what do you have for teenage kids what kind of activities is there in place? There used to be, the bowling alley is not done.
Let me assure you, that has been a hot topic with the commission to figure out what can we do to try to bring in some quality of life things, not only for the local people, but even the base. They're concerned with their people that want to come to town, and there's nothing for them to do. So what do? They either go to El Paso or they go to Las Cruces, and so there's another part of the leakage that we're talking about. There was a bond issue that came up 3 years ago for quality of life, and they was going to put in a bowling alley and some other things.
Last March.
And it fell last March by about 120 votes. One of our commissioners, Mr. Reardon, was in my office today. We talked about this at length, and he said, I'm about ready to see if we can't do this again, because I think if we did it right, this community deserves something. And bowling alley and some of these things for our kids to do, and even us older folks. Are you familiar with a place called the Main Event in Las Cruces, in El Paso? How many of you been there? Have you been there?
That's my leakage.
And there's one in Lubbock, and there's several in Dallas.
There's one in Lubbock, awesome.
The Main Event is a place where you can go in and you give them $20 and they put a wristband on you, and you're there from 8 in the morning till 2 the next morning if you want to be, and you can bowl, you can play laser tag, you can do all kind of video games, You can go in and have a pizza, you can have, I mean, there's just stuff to do all day long. Paintball, all kinds of things. There is some private individuals at this time here in Alamogordo that are working with some outside agencies trying to bring bowling alley in. Brunswick did a study. Said 24 lanes would not survive here because of the lanes at Holloman Air Force Base. It wouldn't support it. I think there's some bad information that's been gotten. Because they keep saying, all you gotta do is you just go out to the base and bowl. You and I all know that's not exactly, you can, but you gotta go through a process to get on out there. And it's not convenient, it's not, there's just some real issues. So that's one of those things that we are going to try to address and really look at to try to see what we can do. One of we mentioned a while ago, the skateboard park. That's going to happen. That's going to be a good deal for these teenagers that really enjoy doing that. I think it's a great, and how that came about, as a young man came down and got with Matt and started working on the commission, made his presentation to the commission, and it's going to happen. So we've got to be diligent about what we want for our community, and these kinds of sessions bring it out more to the forefront where the Commissioner Sykes, Mayor Galea can say, hey, our community really is interested in this. It's a place for us to maybe start looking that we need to give more attention. And so hopefully we can do that. What? Yes, ma'am.
We used to have a clothing fabric store on Broadway on New York. What happened there? Nobody ever come in?
Yeah, Walmart came to town.
Well, I don't go to Walmart.
I understand, but that's what happened to our fabric stores. Walmart came to town and all
they
their
don't have a fabric.
operations closed their doors.
They
They
closed
can't
it.
afford it.
They closed the fabric store at Walmart because,
There's only a small.
after they got rid of all the other ones.
Then they closed. My wife is just like you. She loves to sew.
Yeah.
And she can't go, she has to go all the way to Lubbock to get to a fabric store. And now this, listen, this is one of those we need to put down, is that there is a concern and a need, and it may be one of those deals we need to do with a little in-house survey, is would a fabric shop work here?
There
Hobby
is
Lobby.
one on 8th Street, it's a quilters thing, and they
Yeah,
have
but
all big selection
Oh.
of fabric.
They do a quilt only though.
Oh,
They've
got
they're all
fabric.
different kinds of.
They don't have for
Fabric.
dresses.
Yeah, they don't
Different
have
fabric. They're
I
looking
have a
for,
question in the back here.
yeah.
I like your comment about bringing a lot of these events forward and bringing them out. And I've gone onto the internet, Outdoor Day News website, the community events calendar, and I've seen some of that. Do we have, and maybe I could open this for other people's thoughts, any kind of, say, marquee, something that would beautify Alamogordo, putting it down on the main street, a rolling marquee saying what the community events is?
We do. The William Estrada Event Center, we have that one, and we can start doing those. We talked about that this week. I've started using that marquee there to start advertising meetings and events and all kinds of things. We have that, and we can now put it in place.
How about new places that are coming in? You know, not clear on the marquee.
Well, now, we have a webpage that Megan has started, and we're trying to put information like this on our webpage where you can actually go in on the computer over here at the library or whatever, look at it and read about things that are going on with the city. Sharon?
Yes, first of all, I want to just thank Mayor Galea. She appointed me to the Mayor's Commission on Aging for the Senior Center. And I just want to tell everyone that we have such a tremendous resource with our Senior Center. Even if you're not of that age to go down there, Ronnie and her group and the way that they conduct business, the resources, and what I love about our Alamogordo Senior Center is we the people. That's our place, because that is everything that is done there is done by the folks that go there, that give input, and is run. So I just want to, any chance I get, to say kudos to the Senior Center, and in 5 months I'm going to be having my breakfast, lunch, and doing activities there on a regular basis.
Your birthday in 5 months?
Yeah. No, I know, I've already got my card, but I'm going to retire. But then the second thing, and I'm going to address this to Brian, because I just love asking questions and giving Brian, We have a street out here called 10th Street. We call it Frogger. Have you ever played that game Frogger, where you go splat? Well, it's just a matter of time, and it's going to probably be me because I like to cross that street. Is there any way that we could go out there and get some of those sidewalks repainted so that people can see crosswalks?
Crosswalks. Actually, you're a little bit early. Won't be this commission meeting, actually the next commission meeting. The commission tasked me at their last meeting to bring a number of projects back forward, or back to them, or actually to them, to replace some of the existing capital projects that for one reason or another were not going to be able to complete. One of the roadway projects is actually 10th Street. A number of the crosswalks have been eradicated. That was a request from our DPS department, as crosswalks that weren't needed. I know which ones you're talking about. And in the short term, we did lose a couple of our people from the street department that actually performed that task. We have other people that are in the process of being trained to use the equipment, and once they are up to speed, they will be redoing not just 10th Street, but 1st Street, Indian Wells, Scenic. There's a big lack of streets.
I'd like to see 10th Street be more walkable, and I don't know if there's a chance to revisit DPS's request to eradicate some of these sidewalks, but I think for some people that have mobility issues that want to get out there, there's a lot of distance that you have to go. And I just think that if we want to look at really revitalizing in our community, a walkable community, then we need to really look at more access crossing the road.
There was the project started to blend in my mind here, but I believe it was 2 years ago. With some of the ARA money, stimulus money, where 10th Street was one of the streets that actually was completed. The corner ramps were made ADA accessible. The cheese wedges, a lot of people have talked about those. So that portion has been addressed. Now we need to get in, resurface, and getting the crosswalks, et cetera. A lot of it comes down to funding. So
That's one of the things we've asked the state legislature for some more ADA money that we can maybe do some of those kinds of things, and that's a great suggestion. I think that we could do a lot better job.
And I don't want to leave Matt out, because he knows he needs that question for me. We had kind of like a sidebar conversation, but can you just update us where we are? Because we have, when you talk about walking and walking paths, Alamogordo really has a great plan for the walking paths and linking up our community so we have some safe walking. Can you tell us where that is?
Sure. We are just finalizing a state grant, which we've been working on for 2 years, to finish the trail here from 14th Street to Indian Wells. And so we'll go right down Washington, right by Oregon School. And then once we get past the tennis court, we'll start meandering through the park to get up. So you'll be able to go from 1st Street by the high school on a trail all the way to Indian Wells, and Indian Wells all the way to White Sands.
And then you cross the street and go through Alameda Park.
Alameda Park, right?
It's a long walk.
We got a new hand over here.
Actually, I have a question about that. We've spent so much on the handicap accessible sidewalks, things like that. But I've noticed on Florida and things like that, there's a great power pole in front of the sidewalk or in the middle of the sidewalk, and nobody can go around it, and we spend all this money on the sidewalks and I don't know.
That's our new obstacle course.
Exactly. I'm wondering why we're dodging light poles and power poles or whatever when we've spent all this money on getting, I mean, it looks great and it's wonderful, but why is...
Good question. Let us get with Brian and start looking at some of these issues. I was not even aware of that.
Job security.
And maybe job security.
Now they gotta go back to the whole lot of concrete in.
Job security. No, it's one of those things that we may not even be aware of, but thank you for bringing it to our attention and let us look.
I also have one more question. The police department, what is going on with the police department? I've noticed when I've called 911, I get a hello, what do you want? Yeah. when I have police officers coming and, okay, well, I have a drug dealer next door and he comes and goes and da-da-da-da, well, what do you want me to do about it? We're only 3 people in this whole entire, what? You only have 3 officers?
Let me tell you, the next time that happens, you call me.
It just is, and the newspaper was reporting clicks and things like that in the police department. And
Have you been paying attention for the last 3-4 months?
I have, yes.
Okay. We've completely reorganized the police department. We have a brand new chief coming on Monday.
Okay.
And I think we're seeing some real change over there. And if we don't, then I want to know. And
Okay.
if you're not getting the right answer when you call dispatch, then I want to know. And you can call my personal cell,
Okay,
and I'll give you the number.
please.
Because that's one thing that we're going to see a change in our police department, because I think it's mandatory
It's time, yeah.
by this community.
Absolutely.
And I want to do everything we can to try to make that happen. 415-7992.
7992.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I have one more question.
Okay.
And then
Just
we'll
one?
let the rest. Just one more. Okay, I'm into recycling, from water to glass to, anything. Okay, I can recycle the cardboard, I can recycle the paper, I cannot recycle the glass, and I cannot recycle the plastic.
Exactly.
You can, you have to pay to do it for glass.
For glass, but you can also, sorry.
Go ahead. I'm here.
In Albuquerque, they recycle the glass.
The reason, it's my understanding, the reason we haven't done glass yet, and I don't know if we're still looking into this, is it's a weight issue and it's a transportation issue. It costs a lot to ship it out because we don't have the resources here to do that. It's not that we don't want to by any means. We actually are very excited about recycling. I just met with a young lady who came to my office a couple weeks ago. I have pamphlets, and yes, you can do plastic. You can do number 1s and number 2. It says in the little triangle on your bottles. They just have to be taken to certain plants, and I would be happy to get you the information as to where you can drop them off.
There's brochures out in the,
Is there a
in front of the library.
Actually, out front of the library, and I can walk you over there and we can take a look at them.
Yeah, those recycling things, there's one at the visiting center in Walmart, I think is that.
Civic Center.
Yeah, but we have to drive, in Las Cruces and Albuquerque, I mean, they have those bins that they pick up in front of your house. You
We'll
don't have
eventually
to go.
get there.
Hopefully we'll get there.
Not
Right now,
everybody has a car to go and take their recycling. I have a van, I just get the recycling.
We need more participation in our current recycling program, and then we can afford to put bins out at every door.
Okay, help me.
What if you put more bins out, like apartment complexes?
The money is the issue. That money solves all of our roles.
Because I manage an apartment complex, and I tell these kids, don't put all your, if you're gonna, I don't want my dumpsters full. So the other day, I had to pull out all the cardboard because it filled up my dumpster, and they just picked it up, and it was full. So, smash your boxes and just stack them in front of your apartment, and I pick them up. Good things, I take them to the thrift store, but I think especially the apartment complexes, because they're kids, they like to recycle and stuff. Even like Boy Scouts, they want the cans. Why don't they, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, whoever wants money, is make these little bins and put them at the apartment complex, because aluminum is very profitable.
This is exactly what we hoped would happen. Ideas would start evolving and exchanging, and I think it's been great dialogue. Give her your phone number where she can get a hold of you. There may be some things that we can do to help you with that.
Okay. And in addition, we have the feedback forms on the website. If you're not computer literate or if you're not comfortable doing that, the phone number to my office. Anybody have pen, paper, want to pull out your cell phone?
It'll be online too.
Leave it with you. We can put it online.
Well, we're live streaming, so it's recorded.
439-4203. Everyone here should be getting a water bill for your utilities. There's a city profile.
Oh, I don't want to.
There's a city profile that comes in that each month. My name, phone number, the website is on there. Some people write me notes and just send that back. with their bill, and I get it. So if you want to do that, send me a note. I will get it and I will read it.
Why is the water bill going up?
Why is our water bill going up?
You drink a lot.
Our operational costs are going up, and we have to afford we're going into phase 3 or the final phase 3 of our wastewater treatment plant. And operational costs are going up to treat our water.
Those things that I talked to you about when we first started, all those projects, that's how they're paid for.
I'd also like to mention that stuff like that's always mentioned at the city commission meetings, and if you can't make it, we always live stream. You can go back and watch it on alamogordolive.net. We're trying to be very involved with the community because certain things aren't being reported, and we want everybody to know what's going on. So alamogordolive.net, we always have copies of what's going on in our archives, and whatever's recorded last is going to be on the front page, so you can always go back and watch it.
Okay, we're out of time, but I want to give the mayor one last, anything, final words?
Final words, our city is run on volunteers, and community input is always welcome, because the city commission, we're 7, and we represent all of you, and we want your feedback and your input. The city commission is here to support all the citizens and do the will of the citizens. We have a budget coming up, and we're $65 million in debt as a city, and so there'll be some challenges, but we want to provide a good quality of life for all the citizens here. So that's very important, and public safety, of course, is #1 on our list. So we're working to continuously improve. There's always more ways to improve than one, and so we're always accepting of feedback, and I appreciate everyone coming.
I just want to thank everybody for coming, city staff, Mr. Carter, Mayor Kalia. And I'm just curious when you're going to do this again.
February 5th.
And it'll be at 1:15 p.m. We're changing the times each time to get a comfortable feel for when it's good for everybody.
Whether it's in the afternoon or whether in the evening, so it'll be February the 5th.
1:15 p.m. here.
Is this a good format?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.